Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First, I'd like to thank the judges for taking the time to come here. Also, I'd like to thank the organizers of this event. Without your relentless efforts, none of this would at all be possible. My name is Will Barone, and I'd like to introduce you to my team. Here we have Mrs. Crutchin, Mrs. Rahman, Mr. Krantz, and Mr. McBride. And I'm going to turn things on over to Mrs. Crutcher, and she is going to explain to you a problem that we had the task of developing a solution for.
So what is the problem? Currently, Indiana is experiencing what we call the brain drain. Our team today is going to focus on solving that problem in East Central Indiana. So it's a fact. College graduates are leaving the area. But why do they do that? Our team did a little bit of research and we found out 3 reasons. Number 1, Indiana is culturally isolated. There's kind of a lack of entertainment. There's no cultural center that kind of draws people in. There's no gravity that brings people in. Number 2, we don't really have an industry that supports the kind of majors that these graduates are getting. They're graduating with degrees that we can't support. And lastly, there's the weather. We all know it's a little crazy. There's really hot summers, really cold winters. But as we were brainstorming, we realized, what if we could turn these reasons for leaving into reasons for staying? So this crazy weather, what if we, since we can't change it, why don't we take advantage of it?
When our team first began to develop a solution to this problem, we kind of started with a motto: go big or go home. So our solution, we didn't want to come up with a firm that would create 5 or 10 or 20 new jobs. We want to create 100 or more, and we want to change the area that we're placed in. Our firm is called INSeason. It's a for-profit innovative think tank that focuses on researching and developing eco-friendly solutions for corporations. Now, you might be wondering, how is this different? How is this different from a governmentally funded think tank that focuses on environmental issues? Well, first of all, we've created an incentive program for our employees. This rewards them not only with a salary, but also based on the amount of innovativeness and the hard work and the return on investment that they produce for us and for our clients. This motivates them to go above and beyond. Next, we have 3 different areas that we work in and services and products that we provide for our customer. The first area that we'll look at is product development. We develop new products, environmentally friendly solutions, and energy efficiency solutions. Once we patent these new products, we can license the products to our clients, which are typically corporations that will manufacture them and then eventually retail them to the end consumer. The second area is contracted current product improvement. So manufacturers and retailers come to us, they say, we have this product, it's very successful, we need it to be more green, we need it to be more energy efficient, environmentally friendly. We look at that product and then we research and develop and create a better improvement for that. And then the next thing that we do is we do research in biomass and biofuels. Now, the ways that we do these things differently is in product development, we take into consideration that here in Indiana we experience all 4 seasons. That means we can develop products that work and are easily used in a variety of climates, from California and Florida to North Dakota and Michigan. We take advantage of that. Then we also develop personalized solutions. We develop long-term relationships with all of our clients. And the next thing is the biomass and biofuel technology. We're taking advantage of the resources we have here in Indiana with the agricultural products, the waste products that are produced from our agriculture, and then also the crops that are produced from our agricultural business.
We are very confident that there is a high demand. In 2007, the government created the Energy Independence and Security Act of 2007. And what this act is, it's a mandate where companies and businesses and federal organizations have to reduce their energy consumption. So our company will provide the means for them to achieve that goal. There's also job development. Currently, there are 3 million estimated jobs in renewable resources. However, we're expecting that number to grow exponentially within the next number of years in this upcoming industry. Furthermore, besides the government mandate, there's a lot of benefits for companies going green.
Next, we'll take a look at the customers. This diagram shows part of the supply chain where we will provide our customer with environmental solutions that will improve their overall business and make them greener in a sense. And from there, they can either use that for themselves or sell that to their end customer. And these companies are eco-solution consultation firms and implementation. An example of this is ARC Environmental Services, which is in Indy. So we'd give them our patents and our breakthroughs. We'd sell that to them. They'd either use it themselves, like I said, or they'd, and also we'd go to consumer product manufacturers, companies such as GE, Honeywell, and we could show them, we could sell them patents on existing products, patents on new products, and show them overall ways to be greener in operation.
You might be asking, how much is something like this going to cost? Initially, we're going to look for a $30 to $50 million startup. This is based on a 150 employee firm. We looked at several companies in Idaho, Colorado, and Iowa. They were all similar think tanks. They required about $500,000 in startup capital per employee. So that's where that number comes from. As far as the annual cost, we base those employees on a medium range of a $90,000 salary. We're talking about highly skilled workers who demand a higher level of pay. Aside from that, there is about a 4% annual cost from your initial investment to maintain the facility, provide for the power and the utilities to run the operation. And finally, the employee benefit packages that we're going to be offering is going to range somewhere into the 20 and 30 percentile, causing that revenue from the salaries to be increased even more. Covering those costs, we're going to look at venture capitalist firms, not only here in Indiana, but outside at the national level. We're going to look for firms that are particularly interested in green technologies, specifically a new niche green technology like we're trying to develop. We'll focus on the EB5, Energize East Central Indiana. Legislation that was passed nearly a decade ago. There's $8 million sitting in an account for green technology companies to grow and innovate in this area. One of their keys was to hopefully be able to bring in foreign investors. So what they wanted to do is if you could invest a sizable amount into a green firm that was going to locate here in East Central Indiana, they would provide you with citizenship for you and your family in the United States. So not only are they incentivized by being a part of a business solution, but also because they get to bring themselves and their family to the United States. And finally, we're going to be utilizing government grants. I think everybody's well aware that there's plenty of energy grants out there at the local, state, and national levels. Locally, we'll be looking at tax abatements, property grants, different things like that. Property around here is relatively inexpensive because of the lack of development. At the state level, we'll be looking for infrastructure grants, stuff for our larger industrial supplies. And then at the national level, we'll be looking for, as somebody spoke before, about the biofuels and biodiesel grants. In 2017, they're projecting that they're going to be pumping $82 billion into that market alone. Currently, they're putting $35 billion annually into something like that. There's also a number of other national grants that we'll be seeking. As far as our revenue stream, as we spoke to before, we're going to be focusing on a licensing fee. The industry average is about 2 to 4% annually of your revenues if you use somebody else's license. These last anywhere from 15 to 25 years. There's also upfront payments for some of these licensing fees. A new strain of biofuel can run anywhere from, or as much as $10 million up front. This will lead both to research and product development further into our licensing to provide more products for our companies. Finally, we'll be doing consultations. We'll go out to companies either here in Indiana or nationally, and we will look for solutions for them specifically. So if I come to your factory and realize that your machine press is horribly inefficient, we can come back to our center, develop a solution customized towards your company, whether that be a service or whether that be a product that fits specifically into what you're doing.
You may be wondering, why East Central Indiana? Martin Cohen said it best. He's an analyst, and he told us that with some of the world's most productive farmland, ample water, and steady winds, Indiana has all the ingredients needed to be the place that we can actually do our research, where we can research the products that are going to be used day to day in other places. The cost of living here is very low. The labor cost is low also. In California, there's an average of $14,000 more of salary, but there's $40,000 more cost of living there. So that could be another draw into it here. It's a natural place because all of the natural resources, like the waste, the wind, the sun, all of it is here in Indiana. We can do our research like that. And there's 27 companies already located here in Indiana that we can go out to and we can market our product to.
Another reason to be centrally located here in East Central Indiana is the universities that we can work with that are already doing research programs. We want to give our project legs towards actually practical and we can do it. We can team up with the IU Center for Research and Energy, the Rose-Hulman Sustainability Team, the Purdue University Energy Center. Any of these academic institutions we can partner with and work with them. Also, there's biofuel plants that are being funded by the state government. In a one-year time period, we went from having 1 ethanol plant to 13 and 5 new biodiesel plants. We would partner with them and make them partners and customers. And also, how does this retain college graduates? That's the initial problem. We want to transform 3 things: the culture. First of all, in any stereotype, there's the reality and the misconceptions. Many people think that Indiana is not culturally diverse, not progressive or forward-thinking. We want to change that. That also involves Indiana's image as a state, as a whole, and then also job opportunities that we want to provide graduates. Part of transforming the image and the culture, we want to recruit nationally and locally. We want to retain Hoosiers that were born, raised, and educated here, but we also want to recruit international students that came to study here. We want to recruit people from other states that came to study here, and we will keep them. And these employees with diverse backgrounds create an incubator for divergent and progressive thinking here in Indiana and just enhance culture in general. Also, we want to attract more clean energy corporations. There are already a lot here that are going to become our partners and our customers, but we want to attract even more and make Indiana the cutting edge and an example for the country and the world.
The main thing that keeps a college grad is a job opportunity. College graduates are pretty much willing to live anywhere if they have an awesome job. And if they can get a job that uses their skill, that's even better. And these jobs in energy conservation and all the companies that are already here and the companies that we can potentially bring in require high-skilled employees. And these employees are majoring in already popular disciplines such as engineering, business, energy conservation, sustainability, etc. And because of all the universities are located close by, we can draw in interns and then funnel them into full-time positions.
INSeason, creating all your solutions. Now, I thank you for listening to our input, and I'd like to open this time for any comments, questions, or concerns that you, the judges, or the organizers may have for us. Thank you.
Great job, guys.
Good job.
Really good job.
Thank you.
I'll lead off.
You mentioned that there are already think tanks like this in Idaho and a couple other places. Can you expound a little bit more on their business model, how they got started? I guess what I'm really asking is how realistic is this startup? That would be my big concern for your concept.
Right. The think tanks that we looked at specifically, more for the reasons that they had financials that we could actually access. They are primarily government funded. They rely heavily on grants. They don't do the outside consulting work that we're looking to do. But what they do is they will work to create solutions, and that is their sole purpose. Where we want to differ is we don't look to just focus on solar, just focus on wind. We want to look for solutions that fit our environment instead. We're not going to focus on one particular resource. Now, as we spoke to earlier, yeah, the biofuels is an obvious choice, especially here in Indiana. You can use the corn stalks that are sitting in the ground. You can use the corn cobs that are left over. You can use animal manure that's left over. So obviously there's an abundance. That's easy for us to obtain, so that would be an ease more than it would be a preference. But what we'll be looking to do is use, like they said, Indiana's different seasons to really focus and create products that somebody either here in Indiana or across that same parallel all across the nation could use all year round. So instead of focusing something like Arizona solar plant, solar panels are great. They don't work when it's raining in April. So we'll look to create technologies that continue to work 12 months out of the year as opposed to 3 or 4.
And if we could provide environmental solutions that'll work in diverse weather settings, then that'll add so much value to our customer who might be marketing to the end user, household use, and just ways that just they could use instruments that will increase their efficiency and lower their bills.
And additionally, a lot of manufacturers and retailers are developing these products, and they're doing it in-house right now. But the thing that we'll have is the expertise of our staff who works on this year-round. They learn things that the in-house people don't necessarily have an opportunity to learn, to discover. And so we're able to create even more innovative things. Whereas they're trying to funnel their money into that research, they just hire us as a consultant. And we're kind of filling that niche. When we were looking at this option, we saw there were a lot of consultation firms that will go into a company and will kind of fix the environmental problems that they have. Well, we even supply them with solutions for their clients. So we're a business-to-business for-profit firm.
You know, it seemed like the facility costs and the labor costs that you laid out are pretty steep. Was there any thought in creating a virtual think tank where you aggregate the intellectual capital, these partner institutions that you mentioned?
We didn't necessarily have that as an initial option. That could be something that you could use to launch this idea. However, for a lot of these things, there is the intellectual and theoretical aspect of it, but there's the practical knowledge that you really need to see something worked out before you know if a solution is actually going to work and it'll be able to be implemented appropriately. So that could be a launching pad, but that to have that be the end product just wouldn't be practical in the sense of would you come up with solutions that work in the real world.
You mentioned GE. Are there other companies that you want to partner with?
Yeah. Honestly, this includes a range of manufacturers and retailers and other organizations. Like we talked about, we would include, environmental consulting groups, and we would also include manufacturers and retailers of just any product. So let's say, theoretically, there's a company that sells appliances like GE, but they haven't done any sort of like environmental friendly appliances or energy efficiency yet, and based on government regulations, they have to. They come to us and they say, help us figure this out because you have the expertise that we need, and we don't have time to develop that in-house. So it's kind of that example. And because we have such a diverse staff from different areas, we're able to serve a lot of those different kinds of manufacturers.
I might have missed this. Did you give an indication as to how many you thought you would end up employ initially from your?
150. And that's where the $30 million startup came from, because typically across the board it looked like it was about $500,000 for every employee that you had.
I could work for that.
I could too.
You had some things relative to the biofuels plants and biomass and so on and so forth. And oftentimes what happens with those, especially early on, but what transpires over time is that those subsidies or government subsidies for those particular businesses end or they decline, and certainly given our financial situation, those subsidies are disappearing or declining. So did you give some thought to that in terms of an impact on your revenue stream?
Yeah, and as far as the biofuels go, the largest indication, that'll be the market that appears to increase the most. It's showing the most potential to improve. Like I said earlier, they're pumping $35 billion into it right now. They're projecting in 2017 they're going to be pumping $82 billion into it. Biofuel and biodiesels are much more efficient at generating power per input, I guess would be the best way to see it, as opposed to solar or water turbine or the wind farms that we've seen a lot go up. It costs about $5 or 5 cents per kilowatt hour to use biodiesel, as opposed to something like solar, which could be anywhere from 10 to 12 cents per kilowatt hour. for example, in GE's green technology movement, last year I read that they filed 450 patents. So these are companies that know how to do this. They have staff on hand specifically that are patent attorneys. So that would be something that we would most definitely have to do, especially if one of our core business strategies is going to be to develop patents on our own, separate from our corporate clients. So that would just have to be something that we develop a trust with, and as long as we don't slip up, we prove faithful to our customers.
A little bit too, I'm curious about the breakdown of your employees. Did you give some thought into
yeah, we did. We'd have an engineer base, obviously, get the eggheads going, producing the genius ideas. We'd have purchasing, shipping, receiving, obviously some corporate, initially in the front of the area. But as far as physical layout, we didn't necessarily go that in depth because we're more concept. But just in calculating the overall labor and everything, we broke it down into production, materials, engineering, purchasing, receiving, shipping. So we took all those into account, kind of jumbled them together and gave them to you at once. We could have broken it down better.
You did a great job on the research pieces of available programs. It's impressive.
Anything else? I'll break the honors.
I like your logo a lot.
Are there any areas that you really feel like we need to hear that were not part of your presentation, that you were just waiting for an opportunity to get this one last plug?
I would just want to emphasize the idea of creating a hub in Indiana or that attracts people. Like this is more than a company that is doing energy stuff. We want to take the resources that we have and the kind of inspiration was what does Indiana have to offer the rest of America? Because we think we have nothing, but in reality, all this all our agriculture has a lot to offer and we're not using it. And so this is a way to use it and draw people in.
And the way the entire concept was really developed was, I asked last night when we were sitting at dinner, how did Warsaw become the prosthetics capital of the world? Well, comes to find out, a guy started a firm, and then another firm said, hey, looks like a good idea, maybe we'll move close to him. And that's kind of the idea with this, is that if we start the innovation, the creativity aspect of it, those that need that type of service will naturally be attracted to the area, thus bringing an influx of companies that do this type of business to one central area. So become the Silicon Valley of the Midwest.
I really agree with what Ashley was saying about just wanting to harness the resources that we have here and just the movement that even state government is already doing, just joining up with even government and getting their support and backing. But additionally, we know that college graduates want to do something where they feel fulfilled. They feel like they're doing something that matters and they're changing things and they're changing, the world in different ways. So we feel like this job would be something that they feel like just even in the environmentally friendly solutions they're coming up with and the energy savings and things like that they're coming up with, they're going to feel fulfilled in that job. And then when they see the way that the culture around East Central Indiana is changing, I think they'll really feel like they're part of something bigger than just that company.
And a green company is a fairly progressive thought. And if we want progressive thinkers, then we'll take them out of college. And sure, we have a lot of engineers, we do a lot of technical, but if we want that kind of progressive thinking, for instance, in our marketing and purchasing and those departments, then that kind of thought will be contagious and that'll have an effect on the organizational culture within the business. And if other businesses start hitching on to this, then geographic areas will start adapting that kind of progressive thinking, and then maybe Indiana will be just up there with everybody else.